Hi all, welcome to this practice with me and my cat. Just my usual comments about doing what's right for you, for your body today, for this practice, and listening to your own intuition as we go through. So if something doesn't feel right today, that's fine, don't do it, don't stress yourself, especially as I'm not there to see you and to maybe correct any alignment that may have gone a bit wonky over the few months, which maybe you haven't been getting to class as often as you'd like. So let's have a few breaths just to bring ourselves into this practice. So starting in just a comfortable seat, you can just rest your hands or you can go hands to heart center if you like, but maybe just shutting down the eyes and having a few conscious breaths. And as you draw the breath into the body, think about pulling yourself into this moment and then the next moment. Staying as conscious of the now as you can, so if you find yourself anticipating anything or thinking about anything that's happened already, see if there's a way to just really gently and with kindness draw yourself back to this present moment. And noticing how you are experiencing this stillness. We haven't been here very long, but sometimes that can be enough to be frustrating and we want to get moving, or sometimes it can be a real relief to come into the stillness. So noticing what your relationship to that is. Seeing if the breath feels smooth and steady or if it doesn't. Again, without any judgment, just kindly observing your current reality. And noticing whether you're holding onto any tension, perhaps in the body, that we might be able to allow to release before we start our practice. And then whenever you're ready, releasing the hands, blinking open the eyes. Great. I'm just going to shuffle back so you can see what I'm doing on my mat. We're going to start with our legs bent like this. Can you see? Hopefully you can. Cleverly, I wore all black again on a black mat, so hopefully you can see. I've got my legs kind of knees at 90 degrees and I've got this foot onto the top of this thigh. Great. Okay, so just turning towards whichever leg you've got bent. We're going to take, it's almost like a really mini pigeon pose. We're just going to fold over that leg a little bit. And you can allow the back hip to rise off the mat. This is kind of very much warm-up asana. It's not really kind of strong, stretchy, hard stuff yet. So don't worry too much about the back hip. And then we'll gently come up through centre. Then we'll change the way the legs are crossed, so other foot to the top of the other thigh. Get your bearings with that. See if the feet are where you need them to be. And then just turning towards the bent leg, a little bit of a fold over that leg. Great. Coming back up. And what we're going to have a go at doing, let me see if I can get myself in shot, yeah, is keeping the feet kind of where they are. You can use the hands to start with. We're going to see if we can roll from one of those positions back through centre to the other one. I always find that I wiggle forwards in this, so I might go out of shot. I will try to stay where I am. So after you've done a few of these, using your hands to help you around, maybe there is a way to adjust and do it without the hands, perhaps. Just see, does it feel smooth? Does it feel full of ease? Is it really challenging? Hips are all really different. They're like shoulders. From person to person, they vary a lot. So if this is not for you, that's fine. Obviously, you can stick with your hands on the mat, whatever works. And just finishing this pair and coming back to sitting at the centre. And we'll take some seated cat-cow today. So we're going to cactus the arms and then inhale, open up through the front of the body and exhale, rounding in. So every inhale, lift the heart space, but try not to lift the shoulder blades. So shoulder blades down, but lift the heart space. Every exhale, rounding in. And just seeing how that feels once we start to move the back in this specific way. What's going on? I should have said as well, if sitting cross-legged is not for you, you can of course kneel up. You could even do this standing if you wanted to, it's absolutely fine. Just tuning into the breath. And I'm really sorry, I've got a touch of hay fever, so I'm going to be a bit sniffly. You can carry on. Sorry. Alright, and then bringing that to stillness if you haven't already. Great. We're going to come over to hands and knees. We've already done our cat-cow, so what we're going to do is have hands under shoulders and just have a bit of a rock forwards and back to just warm up the wrists a little bit. So just a rock forwards and back, maybe a circle, so shoulders are kind of circling over the wrists again, just to wake up the wrists, wake up the upper body a little bit. And we can change direction. If we're circling one way, we can circle the other. And then coming to stillness, press the hands down to get a really good kind of strong box shape, keeping the midline of the body over the midline of the mat. We're going to tuck the right toes, send the right heel back, give ourselves a nice stretch through the calf, the hamstring, the glutes, maybe wherever you feel it. Notice already if you've gone off to one side or the other, so trying to stay down the centre of the mat. And then just lifting the right toes just an inch. If you lift them too high, you tend to end up squashing the lower back, losing the control through the abs. So I always try and encourage us to just lift them just off the mat, keep everything set up in this square box shape. And then from here, we're going to bend the legs so the sole of the foot is going up towards the ceiling, but again, I've tried not to really collapse through the lower back, so I'm still trying to draw in the front of the body. And just take little pulses of the foot up towards the ceiling. Small is good here. If you end up doing like huge ones, you don't tend to feel it. Small is really good, and we can target the glutes a little bit. Right. Just a couple more of these. And then just having a bit of a play with opening up through the hips, so sending the knee up, maybe straightening the leg, maybe bringing the knee across underneath. So trying to move that right hip in all different directions. It doesn't really matter too much what it looks like, just exploring, opening out. You can just draw circles if you like, whatever suits you. Seeing how the hips feel today. And then coming back. Finding the box shape again, so nice strong setup of the upper body. And then from here, sending the left foot back, so tucking the toes down on the mat to begin with. So foot is down to start with, keeping yourself over the midline of the mat. Check the abs are working, so lift the belly muscles in, then float the left toes. And then bending the foot up towards the ceiling, little controlled pulses, find the glutes, wake them up without letting the belly collapse, so not letting all this hang out, drawing that in still as we pulse up. Right, and then opening up through the hip, any way that works for you. Let's bring it under. Maybe big circles, whatever you want to do, it's all good. Can you sense a theme here? A little bit of hip opening can happen today. Great. Coming to stillness, we're going to take the knees wide, the big toes together, Then sink back into child's pose. If you wanted to use this moment to just put a bit of movement through the wrists, that would be a really nice idea. We've had a long time there on our upper body, so perhaps just resting, maybe circling. I'm just going to sit up so I can speak to you, but you can let your head drop down onto the mat. I don't know if you heard that. It's my cat running up the stairs. I don't know if she gets these little funny moments. So just, whenever we get to child's pose, of course you can substitute in if it's not right for you, but seeing if you can let everything just really soften and drop. Find some stillness. And again, what's your connection to the stillness? Does it feel like a really nice release? Or are you anxious to get up and moving? And just notice whatever arises in you, whatever urge you have, whether it's to stay here or to crack on. Just notice whatever bubbles up. It's all part of your experience, so it's all valid. Great. And then as you are ready, we'll come back to downward facing dog. So it's our first down dog, so plant the hands shoulder distance apart, spread the fingers. And if you wanted to pedal out the down dog, you can. Or you can stay still, as always, whatever suits you today, it's all good. My hamstrings are a little bit tight, so I'm quite enjoying the pedal. It's just waking up the back of the body for me, but I don't always like to do that. Sometimes. And if you're still wriggling, just bringing that to stillness. Finding today's down dog. And then coming forwards to plank. So finding a good strong plank, lowering all the way down to the mat. Press the tops of the feet down. We'll take a few cobras to the breath. So keeping the hands quite far back, roll the shoulders back and down. Press the tops of the feet. We'll inhale, lift up, exhale, release. We'll do a few of those if that feels good for you. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Just keep length and space through the back of the neck. And keep the feet working hard, pressing down in contact with the mat. We'll just do one more if that works for you. And then pushing back up to downward facing dog. Looking to the front of the mat, jump, step in, find your halfway lift. Exhale to fold. And inhale, with the arms out, all the way to standing. Exhale, release. Great. Let's take a couple of full sun salutations. So Surya Namaskar, A. Inhale to reach up. Exhale, soften the knees to fold. And inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, jump or step, height to plank. Lower down, chaturanga. Forwards into upward facing dog. Back into downward facing dog. Smooth out the breath. See what the body is telling you in this down dog, what the breath is telling you this time around. And then on the next inhale, coming forwards to halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, front the hands. Exhale, release. We'll go straight into another one. So inhaling, reach up once again. And exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, back and lower down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. See whether both halves of the body feel the same. One more breath. Then on and inhale, come forwards, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, reach. And exhale, release back to Samastiti. Let's go again. We're going to change it up a little bit this time. Inhale, float up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, jump a step back, lower down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. And we're going to bring the big toes together at the back of the mat and just soften the knees and press the heart space back and then straighten the legs once again. Inhale, lift the right leg into three-legged dog. Keep the leg long and straight, but from this position where the hips are level, we're going to turn the toes out, allow the hip to lift, but keep pressing the shoulders squarely back to the back of the mat and keep both hands working. So shoulders are square, right hip lifts. Right. We'll have a breath or two more. And then lower the right leg. Inhale, lift the left leg. And again from this position, we'll allow the hip to lift. Keep the leg long and straight, but open up the hip, keeping the shoulders square. So pressing the heart space back, dropping the right heel, but lifting the left leg. I'm hoping this is making sense. My toes have gone kind of towards you because that whole leg is turning out. One more breath. And then release back down. You can either find child's pose or just come to upright should you need to do that after all that down dog. It's quite likely that you might want to just be upright for a moment. Excuse me again. Great. And as you are ready, we're going to come to plank this time. So bring the big toes together at the back of the mat once again and feel like you can squeeze everything towards the midline of the body. So the legs pulling towards each other, the abs drawing into the midline, and just float the right toes. And then release, and then the same on the left. Great. And then release. Drop the knees once again. Have yourself a moment of stillness, whether it's upright or in child's pose, the choice is yours. Still a moment to check in. Once again, smooth out your breath. Great. And then we'll come into plank once again. So just the same as before. We can keep the big toes together. Everything drawing to the midline. Just float the right toes, and then from here we'll keep the right leg up. We're going to lift the hips, send the heart space back, find three-legged dog. And on an exhale, come forward to plank, knee to nose. Inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, plank, knee to nose. One more time, inhale, three-legged dog. Exhale, plank, knee to nose. Step the right foot forward. Turn onto the side of the back foot and strongly windmill around, warrior two. Great. I'm actually going to come out of my warrior two. I'm struggling to breathe, but you can stay in your warrior two. Think about all the things I normally say about, can you see your right big toe inside the knee? Do you feel like you're leaning forwards, or your shoulders over your ribs, over your hips? We tend to kind of drift forwards. So see if you can stack everything. And maybe just one roll of the shoulders will help to set everything where you want it to be. Great, one more breath. And we're going to take the right arm down to right thigh, sweep the left arm up and over, find our extended side angle. But notice, has your neck disappeared? Can you find more length and space around the ears, around the shoulders? And breathe. You can look up to your top hand if that works for you. Then on an inhale, back to warrior two. Left hand either down or behind. It's quite a familiar sequence. Flip the front hand, reverse your warrior, look up to your top fingertips. And breathe. And then back to warrior two. Find the pose for a moment. And then from here, wimble the hands down, step back to plank, lower down, chaturanga on an exhale. Inhale, upward facing dog, exhale, downward facing dog. And then forwards to plank. Everything draws to the midline, float the left toes. Come up, three-legged dog, so sending the heart space back. Have a breath in. As you breathe out, plank knee to nose. Breathe in, three-legged dog. Breathe out, plank knee to nose. And in, three-legged dog. One more time. Step it forward this time. Between the hands, turn onto the side of the back foot. Strongly wimble the arms. Warrior two. And again, I'm going to come out of it, but I'm going to talk to you. So, can you see your left big toe inside the knee? The knee really wants to collapse in quite often in this. Can you lengthen through the tailbone? So can you send the tailbone down away from the head and draw the lower ribs in? It would be harder to open the hips. Keep an eye on the knee. If you've taken that action, just dropping the tailbone, drawing the lower ribs in, your left knee might well roll in. Breath or two more. Then left arm down, right arm over, and your extended side angle. Still watch the knee, and still lengthen the tailbone, draw the lower ribs in, but this time spin the rib cage up to the ceiling. Again, look into the top hand if you want to. And then back through warrior two. Find that pose for a moment. And then take a right hand down or behind, flip the left hand, reverse your warrior. And then come back, warrior two again. Find the pose for a moment. And then wimble the hands down. This time we're going to get back to child's pose, so any way you want to. Step back, drop the knees, child's pose. Or once again, if you want to be upright, just do that. Great. And then as you are ready, whichever position you're in will come up to downward facing dog. Then looking to the front of the mat, jump or step in, halfway lift, exhale, fold, inhale, come up to standing, and exhale, release. Great. Find a really strong standing position. So big toes can be together, or feet can be hip distance apart, whatever suits you. Think again about that action of, if you're quite arched in the lower back, dropping the tailbone, drawing the lower ribs in, finding a bit more activity around the front of the abs and a bit more length around the back of the body. And roll the shoulders. Great. So we're going to, imagine we're taking tree pose, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So if you bring the weight into your left leg and the hands onto your hips, we're just going to take the right knee out. And it's not gonna, the foot is not gonna come to the leg. We're just gonna hover the right knee out to the side. So notice what you have to work in the body, what has to engage. Do you still feel like you've got the length through the tailbone and the lower ribs drawn in? And after a couple of breaths there, how can you turn the knee out more? We'll draw the foot into your tree pose. And see, are you still engaging those same things? See, I switched it off when I fell over. Hopefully you can feel what you were just working to keep the knee out, you now have to work with the foot. Tree pose is one of those poses where we can actually coast quite easily, especially if we're women and we have open hips. It can be not very much effort at all. So see where you can find a bit more engagement. Lengthen through the tailbone and keep dropping the tailbone, drawing the lower ribs in as you encourage the knee out to the side. And soften the shoulders and smile. If you've taken another arm version, that's absolutely fine. I find it helpful sometimes just to keep hands on hips, but you do what works for you. Woo. Have a breath or two more if you can, and then release with control. And just come back to neutral. Set yourself up again with a lovely strong posture. Weight into the right leg this time. Taking the left leg out. The only difference is that the foot is not on our supporting leg. So what do we have to engage to keep the leg there? And then keeping all those things engaged. Draw the foot to the thigh. See what the difference is. And once we have the support, what tends to switch off, what's not engaging. Check for ease around the face, the shoulders. Are you still feeling the stretch and the energy? Cool. Again, breath or two more if you can. And then release. Great. So, coming to the front of the mat, we're going to flow through again. Inhale, float the hands up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift, look forwards. Exhale, jump a step back, lower down. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. A few breaths here to settle. We're going to come forwards to plank, and once again bring the big toes together. Everything pulling to the midline. Just float the right toes, and we're going to bring the knee to the right elbow. And then take the right leg back, but keep it off the mat if you can. So exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, take it back. Couple more. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And release. Left side, just float the toes. Exhale, knee to the outside. Inhale, step it back. Exhale. Inhale. Fly with me. Exhale. Inhale. One more for good luck. Exhale. Inhale. And then rest. Take child's pose or just come to upright if you prefer. Again, if you need a bit of movement around the wrists, the elbows, that's great. Go for it. Do what works for you. Then as you're ready, we'll come back to downward facing dog. Big toes together, bend the knees, press the heart space back. Inhale, lift the right leg, and again, lift the hip, turn the toes to the side, but keep the shoulders square. One more big breath in. As you breathe out, bring the knee to the outside of the right wrist. Set yourself up for pigeon pose. If you know that's not for you, just a reminder of what the alternative is. So if pigeon pose doesn't suit you, there's always this stretch, the threading the needle, right ankle on left knee. That's absolutely fine. Otherwise, we're in our pigeon pose. And if you flop straight into it, just come back to your hands. By which I mean if you folded, just unfold for a moment. Have a think about the back leg. Here's the heel. In good alignment with the toes and the hips. So we don't want the back heel to flop in or out. Here's the back knee, happy. And just shorten your stance a little bit. Come to your fingertips. Pull the thigh bones into the hip sockets and see if you can bring the hands to heart center. Have a couple of breaths here. And release the hands down. And you can stay upright, or if you want to fold now, it's quite a nice time to do it. You might find you want to wriggle the right foot a little bit further forward. And find the best place for you. I'm not sure if I've got myself in frame or not. Another option is to take the right hand forward. I'll do it in a slightly shortened way so you can see. And the left hand underneath the gap there. So the left shoulder is dropping down and then finding the twist in my pigeon pose. It's not always good for the body, so you'll know. Sometimes it just feels so intense that the body can't rest and open into it today. It might feel like a really nice release for your body today. If it's not working today, just tuck it away in your memory banks. It'll be there another day when you feel like you want more of a twist in your pigeon. So up to you, whether you just stay face forward in your pigeon or a little bit twist, it's all good. And then if you took the twist, gently untwist, so coming back to centre. And if you're on forearms, we'll come up to hands. And then we're going to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, float the right leg, step it back, downward facing dog. Have some stillness or a pedal out, whatever you want to do in this down dog. And then bring the big toes together. Soften the knees, press the heart space back. Inhale, lift the left leg, turn the toes out, so lift the hip, but keep the shoulders square. One more big breath in, and as you breathe out, left knee to the outside of left wrist. Stay quite short in your pigeon pose, stay quite upright, so stay on your hands. Keep an eye on the back leg. Is the knee feeling happy? Is your heel feeling like it's in or out? So pulling left hip back, right hip forward. Pull those thigh bones into the hip sockets. See if you can go hands to heart center. See how that changes things for you. It's considerably different from me. Breath or two more. And then we'll release the hands. Lengthen if you want to. Adjust as you need to. Come down to forearms if you want to. So even if you're going to go for the twist, let's have a few breaths here just in the midline. And if you want to twist, this time it's going to be walking the left hand forward, sliding the right arm underneath, dropping the right shoulder down, taking the twist. Watch the back leg. If it falls onto the side, your hips are probably not square anymore. So I find it quite helpful to tuck the back toes in this twist, and it keeps the knees happy, the hips happy, and I get more from the twist. If we've taken the twist, we'll gently untwist, and then from forearms, bringing everything up to hands, dropping the body weight onto the left hip and swinging the right leg around. We'll bring everything into symmetry, so hug the knees in, make yourself into a little ball. You can drop your chin to your chest. Just have a few breaths to check in, find the stillness again. And then we're going to finish with a back bend. So if you have a wheel pose in your practice and you feel like your shoulders are warm enough, that's great. I would strongly suggest that you do a bridge pose first. If knees are an issue, then you might want to take this position for a bridge pose as well. In case you need a reminder, bridge pose is this one. I've done it quite a lot recently, so I'm not going to go super loads into all the teaching points. I think it's probably quite fresh in your mind. If knees are fine, what we can do is come. So coming up to knees, tucking the toes to start with. And again, watching the heels don't flop in or out is a similar situation to pigeon pose. And once again, lengthening through the tailbone, drawing the lower ribs in. We want to feel like we've got space across this area of the lower back, even when we're in the back bend. So just rolling the shoulders, placing hands on the back of the hips, lifting the heart space, keeping the hips moving forwards. So if you get there and you're unsure or it doesn't feel quite right, then just come on out and you can take a bridge pose instead. Keep the breath flowing. And on, inhale, gently coming back up. So see how you feel. If you feel like you want another back bend, you can take one of any of the options that we've already discussed. If you feel like you're quite open in your body today, you can take hands to the heels and take a camel like this. Keep the hips moving forwards though, and think about lifting the heart space rather than leaning back. Keep the breath flowing and the back of the neck nice and long. One more breath. And then coming up with control. Great, so if you're not already down on your back, that is where we're going to end up. If you are down on your back, that's great. Just wait for us to join you. So we're going to come to laying down with our knees bent up towards the ceiling. So taking as much time as you want to take care of the spine. Come all the way down. Lovely. And then we'll take the arms out to the side or cactus them and start with a real gentle, smooth rock of the knees from side to side. So nice and steady, nice and slow. Just seeing what feedback the body is giving you all the way through. Again, I'm going to sit up to talk to you, but you can carry on. Then next time that your legs come down to the left hand side, maybe just stay there for a few breaths. Find a really useful twist today, so whether that's with the knees stacked or not, whether it's with the top leg extended or not, just finding what suits you and your body today. And then smoothly exiting this, bringing the knees up through center and taking them down to the right hand side. So same thing on this side, just finding what your body needs, what feels useful for you today on this side. Again, knees might be stacked, they might not. Top leg might get extended, it might not. And then nice and steady, bringing the knees back through center. And I'll just talk for a little bit. If you feel like there's anything else you need to do in your practice, any little quick stretch you need to have before you feel complete, then go for that. If you are done, then perhaps just getting any layers you need to feel fully supported and rested in your Shavasana. And as always, I will leave you to your Shavasana. Please try to take it. It's such an important part of the practice. And if you find that you're again thinking about anticipating something in the future or thinking about something that's already happened, see whether you can use each breath as you draw it into the body to pull yourself back to the moment, just like we did as we started today's practice. Thank you so much for practicing. See you all soon, I hope.